Hello YouTube, we are on the Real Programming channel. It's about HTML and CSS. My name is Andrei. This is our 71 lesson about righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. And this is one of the disadvantages of the way we are designing this page, because we need the sidebar to be located just under the header and before the main content. Anyone using a browser with limited capabilities, PDS, small mobile devices, screen readers and so on, we'll see the page in the order it is written with the sidebar first. However, most people would rather see your main content before any kind of sidebar or navigation. So let's look at another way of doing this, which goes back to your idea of using float left on the main content. Look, no CSS exercise. What to know how your pages are going to look to your users under bad conditions, like on a browser that doesn't support CSS. Then open your index.html file and remove the link from the head, save and reload the page in your browser. Now you can see the real order things will be seen in or heard from a screen reader. Go ahead and give it a try. Just make sure you put it back when you're done. After all, this is chapter on CSS. Here's the Starbuzz page. Without CSS, for the most part, we're in a good shape. It is still very readable, although the ban mention does come before the main content, which probably isn't what we want. So let's talk righty, tighty, lefty, loosey. Let's get the Starbuzz page switched over so that the main content is floating left. You're going to see that the mnemonic righty, tighty, lefty, loosey holds true in the CSS world too. Well, for your sidebar anyway. Here's how we convert the page over just a few simple steps. Step 1. Start with the sidebar. We are basically swapping the rows of the sidebar and the main content area. The content area is going to have a fixed weight and float, while the sidebar is going to wrap around the content. We are also going to use the same merging technique to keep the two visually separate. But before we start changing CSS, go to your index.html file and move the sidebar div down below the main div. After you've done that, here's the changes you need to make to the sidebar CSS rule. This is our sidebar. And because the sidebar is now going to flow under the main content, we need to move the large margin to the sidebar. The total weight of the main content area is 470 pixels. Go ahead and compute that yourself in all that free time you have. Compute it in the same way as you did for the sidebar. You should know that we're going to set the weight of the main content area to 420 pixels. We're setting a fixed weight on the main content div to delete the sidebar weight property along with the float. Okay, this delete. And step 2, take care of the main content. Now we need to float the main div. Here is how to do it. We are changing the right margin from 330 pixels back to 10 pixels. We need to set an explicit because we are going to float these elements. Let's use 420 pixels. We are going to float the main div to the left. Step 3. Take care of the footer. Now we just need to adjust the footer to clear everything to the left rather than the right. Change the clear property on this left to have a value of left rather than right. That way the footer will stay clear of the main content area. A quick test drive. We already said there might be a few problems with this method through floating the content to the left. Do a quick test drive before you move on, just to see how this is all working. Go ahead and make the changes to your Starbuzz CSS file and reload index.html in your browsers. Get a good feel for how the page performs when it is resized to narrow, normal and wide. Actually, this looks pretty good, and we have the divs and the right order now, but it's not great that the sidebar expands. It looks a lot better. Fixed sidebars are often used for navigation and they don't look very good when expanded. When we float this sidebar with the div right, then the design stays nice and tight, allowing the content expand, but if we float in the main content to the left, the design feels too loose, allowing the sidebar to expand. Brain power. Design-wise, the first design worked better, while information-wise the second works better because of the placement of the divs. Is there a way we can have the best of both worlds, have the sidebar at fixed weight, but the main div still first in the HTML? What design trade-offs could we make to get there? Liquid and frozen designs. All the designs we've been playing with so far are called liquid layers because they expand to fill whatever weight we resize the browser to. These layouts are useful because by expanding they fill the space available and allows users to make good use of their screen space. Sometimes, however, it is more important to have your layout locked down so that when the user resizes the screen, your design still looks as it should. These are called frozen layouts. Frozen layouts lock the elements down, frozen to the page, so they can't move at all, and so we avoid a lot of issues that are caused by window expanding. Let's give a frozen layout a try. Going from your current page to a frozen page only requires one addition to your HTML and one new rule in your CSS. HTML changes. In your HTML changes, div all content, footer, body. You are going to add a new div element with the ideal content. Like its name suggests, this div is going to go around all the content in your page. So place the opening div tag before the header div and the closing tag below the footer div. Add a new div with the idea of all content around all the other elements in the body. This div closes the footer div CSS changes. Now we're going to use this div to constrain this size of the all elements and the content in the all content div to a fixed width of 800 pixels. Here is the CSS rule to do that. We are going to set the weight of all content to 800 pixels. This will have the effect of constraining everything in it to fit within 800 pixels. While we're at it, since this is first time we're styling this div, let's add some padding and give it its own background color. You'll see this helps to tie the whole page together. The outer all content div is always at 100 pixels even when the browser is resized, so we're effectively frozen the div to the page along with everything inside it. A frozen test drive. Go ahead and add this rule to the bottom of Starbuzz CSS and then reload index.html. Now you can see why we call it a frozen layout. It doesn't move, then the browser is resized. Now the all content div is 800 pixels in weight, no matter how you resize the browsers, and because all the other divs are inside all content, they will fit into the 800 pixel space as well. So the page is basically frozen to 100 pixels. This certainly solves the problem of the sidebar expanding, and it looks pretty nice. It is a little strange when the browser is very wide. thought because of all the empty space on the right side. But we're not done yet, we've got a little room for improvement. What's the state between liquid and frozen? Jello, of course, the frozen yogurt has some benefits, but it also just plain looks wet when you read in the browser. But we've got a fix, and it's common design you'll see on the web. This design is between frozen and liquid, and it has a name to match. Jello Hello layouts lock down the weight of the content area in the page, but center it in the browser. It's actually easier to change the layout to Jello layout and let you play with it than to explain how it behaves, so let's just do it. All content. Breather. They haven't fixed left and right margins on the content div where it's setting the margins to auto. If you remember when we talked about giving to content area weight of auto, the browser expanded the content area as much as it needed to wait after margins. The browser figures out what the correct margins are, but also makes sure the left and the right margins are the same, so that the content is the center. Test drive in the tank of Jello, and we'll talk about this in the next lesson. And this is our 71 lesson over. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel, please put likes, share with friends, comment, eat bananas, chocolate and nuts, drink more water for the effective work of our brains. Bye!